Welcome back to Bay Sunday. She is an educator, an artist, or novelist. Her first book, titled BlackMail, My Love, takes you back to the early 50s. In San Francisco, a concerned sister sets out to find her gay brother who disappears while investigating a blackmail ring that targets lesbians and gay men. The body count piles up as Katie Gilmartin takes us on a wild ride through the underbelly of a city that's beginning to show its queer roots. It may be fiction, but anyone familiar with San Francisco may beg to differ. There's a little bit of truth to all this. The critics love it. BlackMail, My Love, a murder mystery. Let's say hi to the author, Katie Gilmartin. How are you?
Excellent. Thanks so much for having me.
Good to have you on board. So the book is just coming out right now, right?
Very exciting.
Very exciting.
Just hit the stores.
Your first book, where was the idea? You were in academia, you were an artist for 10 years, and you said, I'm going to write me a book.
Well, when I was in my early 20s doing my graduate research, I interviewed older lesbians about their lives in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and their stories have really haunted me since. There was a woman named Bernie, for example, who worked in the shipyard. She worked at Mare Island Naval Base during World War II. She was on her way home from work one night. She had her lunch pail, she had her ID badge on her coat, she had her ID badge on her hat. She was a butch woman, and the police picked her up, threw her in jail. She spent the night in jail. The next morning, the judge told her he'd suspend her sentence on condition that she left California in 24 hours because they didn't want her kind in California.
Oh, wow.
So she went back home to Wyoming. She grew up near Laramie, and she tried to kill herself by driving on the wrong side of the road on the highway for 25 miles in the dead of night. And I think that being on the wrong side of the road thing is, expresses a lot.
A little symbolic.
Fortunately, it was such a rural area, she never met anyone on the wrong side of the road.
Lucky for her.
So she survived to tell me her story. But it was stories like that that, inspired the novel and are woven through it.
So a little bit of history, too, on the gay movement here in the city,
Yes.
the queer movement.
Yes.
So you had to do a little research of it, right?
I did, and the research was really fun. There was a really important court case that I didn't know about. In 1951, the California Supreme Court ruled that homosexuals had a right to congregate. This was pretty remarkable for 1951 because it was routine that queer bars would pay the police money for protection. And so the ruling was that homosexuals had a right to congregate as long as no illegal activity was going on. So basically the way the police responded was to watch for and sometimes encourage and incite illegal activity. Two men dancing, a man putting his knee on another. So they just shifted their tactics of surveillance. And unfortunately, bartenders kind of became chaperones as a result, trying to make sure nothing illegal happened so they wouldn't get shut down. But there was a real flowering of queer bar culture at the time. In the mid-50s, there were more gay and lesbian bars in San Francisco than there are today.
In the backdrop, San Francisco, Telegraph Hill, Coit Tower, I mean, it's all in the book. It
is. Coit Tower plays a very important role, which I can't go into.
Yeah, we won't go there, but that must have been fun, and developing the characters and how do you do that? I mean, you sit down and go, where am I sending this guy?
Oh, that's interesting. I spend a lot of time before I fall asleep with my eyes closed, imagining the next scene, what's going to happen next, seeing it unfold in my mind. I have to see the pea green couch before I know what's gonna happen on it. It's a real pleasure to do that kind of envisioning and then to find words to describe it.
And how about your own sexuality? How did that play a role in writing the book itself?
Well, it was, it was such a part of my interviewing these older women about their lives and, going through the process of coming out, going through the process of self-loathing, going through the process of then dealing with it. And what really interested me about the 50s, given my own experiences with that, was there were people who bought everything that was said about us in the 50s. And then there were people who didn't. And I really wanted to explore how did you do that? How did you not buy what was said about us when it was everyone who said it? Not only the police and the courts, but also the medical profession.
Movie, maybe somewhere down the road.
I'm ready for it.
Is that right? I mean, it just came out, but
I'm ready for it.
All right. And the LGBT community, reaction from them. I'm sure you've had friends read it.
Has been really, really warm and wonderful. Yeah, really warm and wonderful. And really, for me, that's who I wrote it for. these are our roots, and I want us to be connected with those roots and with some of the characters that were there. Jose Sarria, who is a fabulous performer, drag queen, passed away last year. So Jose Sarria appears in the novel at the Black Cat Cafe doing a stand-up routine about Alfred Kinsey, because Kinsey's work had just come out at the time. So I wanted people to connect with that and to connect with terms like Friends of Dorothy. In the 50s, Friends of Dorothy was a term people would use if you met someone at a party and you wanted to know if they were gay or not, and you couldn't say it because of who was around you, you'd say, "Are you a friend of Dorothy?" And if they said Dorothy who, you'd know that they weren't.
Oh, really? Apparently not. Okay.
But if
you're not coming to the party.
But if they said, "Oh, we're bosom buddies," then you would know. And I love that term, and I want to keep that term alive. I especially love it because Randy Schultz wrote about this in the early 80s, 1980s, in Chicago. The Navy had heard that there was this den of homosexuals in their midst, and they had heard that they were calling themselves Friends of Dorothy. So they launched a manhunt or a woman hunt for Dorothy and tried to find her. They never did, but I love the story.
Well, the book is terrific, and it just came out, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Katie, thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it. If you'd like more information about Katie Gilmartin and her new book, log on at katiegilmartin.com. That's katiegilmartin.com. Nice and easy. Back with more Base Sunday right after the break. Stay there, folks.